The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 139.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
So, not too long ago, I'm sitting around thinking to myself, what's the purpose of this whole podcast thing? Why do I sit down week in and week out and talk with different people in the world of golf and take the time to put the shows together and get them edited and do all this stuff? What are we doing? Why are we here? Why are you here? Why do you even come and listen to this show? And is it just to talk with some cool people in the world of golf, some fitness people, get some new information and, kind of make some cool connections? While yes, that's an awesome piece of what we do and really is something that I've enjoyed thoroughly throughout the past 2 years of doing this podcast, but that's not the main purpose of the show. And especially talking to individuals like you who listen to the show and hearing, some of the questions and, some of the insights from the listeners, what I gather is that you want help. You want some guidance, you want some direction to help kind of clarify what you should be doing to get in better shape to play better golf. And so what I want to do today, and I'm going to take the time, this is going to be a little different episode. It's not going to be me interviewing somebody like we normally do, because I wanted to make sure that we are very clear on what's going on here and how we can move forward and how we here at 18 Strong can serve you as much as possible and give you everything that you need as opposed to just creating content for the sake of creating content. So after talking to a bunch of people, I understand that sometimes it can be very confusing, the information that's out there. There's a lot of information out there. And so we want to kind of break that down today into some very simple notions, some very simple fundamentals, if you will, of how you should look at the things that you're doing in your fitness program, and basically 5 fundamental pillars or pieces that you can approach on a weekly basis and know that, okay, if I do these 5 things, I'm in good shape. I've got my bases covered. So before we do that, before we jump into the full episode, I just want to say a quick thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, which is Scratch TV. If you haven't seen or heard of Scratch TV, it's a digital platform for a golf-hungry community of creators, celebrities, athletes, and fans. The content is perfect for this new age of social media, and it's basically videos and articles and different things related to the fun side of golf. So, interviewing different celebrities, interviewing different golfers. They do a thing called the Champions Dinner, where they interview some of the guys from the Champions Tour, which is pretty funny. Just saw one with Rocco Mediate. So it's a way of taking the world of golf and tying in the information that you love to see, but also having a ton of fun with it. And I love the slogan of Scratch TV. It's just golf. Try not to take it so seriously. And I think that that's so perfect and ties in so well with us here at 18 Strong. The fact that, look, this whole golf thing is, so much fun, so important, but it's not the end-all, be-all. It's what we're doing to prepare ourselves to play better golf, to have more fun, to enjoy the game more. But at the end of the day, what we're doing here is helping you, get better at whatever you want to do, physically, mentally, be able to be a better human being, to be able to play better golf. And what I love about Scratch TV is that they're just having fun with it, and they're showing you the fun side of the game. So go to Scratch TV, that's Scratch with a K, SKRATCH TV.com, ScratchTV.com. It's got a little alligator with a golf ball on it. You can't miss it. So go there and check out some pretty entertaining content. All right, so let's dig into our topic a little bit today, and that is, again, why are you here? What's the purpose? So on the surface, I find that the goal is pretty straightforward. So we're 18 Strong is golf and fitness, and you want to get in better shape to play better golf. And that's a pretty simple, straightforward goal. But I find that we can kind of break this down to some deeper layers. So I'm going to look at this on kind of a 3-level tier where externally, the idea is, yes, you need to get in better shape, and you need to get in better shape so you can play better golf. But even past that, getting in better shape, what does that really mean to you? So does that mean that you want to lose weight? Does that mean that you want to be more flexible? Does that mean that you want to swing faster, or simply go out on the course and not get hurt? And, or maybe have some more endurance towards the end of your round. So all of these are great goals as far as getting in shape. And the problem that we have is, okay, how do I do this? So externally, I think that that's kind of the main reason why people gravitate towards anything fitness and golf related. But I think on a deeper level, and this is true for me as well, being a golfer, I think on a deeper level, we have a little bit of that internal struggle, and there's a couple pieces to the internal struggle that we have. And part of that is that, how frustrating is it when you go out and you play golf and you know that you're better than the way that you're playing? It happens to us all the time. And especially, this is probably the most frustrating part, and this may be very egotistical and very pride-filled, but I think we all feel it, is when you're playing with somebody else, you notice that, or at least in our heads, we think, man, I'm a better athlete than that dude. I know that I should be a better golfer than that guy. Here's a guy who's 10, 15 years older than me. He's not as athletic as me, and he's beating me up and down the course. But in our heads, we realize we should be better, but we're not better. And why is that? And sometimes that boils down to skill, but in many cases, I think people are finding that it also boils down to just kind of the way that their body moves and what they've done to take care of their body and how it's reacting or not reacting in the way that they want to react. And so another piece to this is, we have to face the fact that we're not as young as we used to be. And so you may not be as vibrant and fast and quick and able to, use your hands like you used to or whatever. So maybe you're starting to see your distance slip a little bit. Maybe your physique isn't quite the same as it used to be, or maybe you're a player. I've had a couple of these guys come to me recently where your son has just beaten you for the first time, and that's just kind of a dig at your pride. So kind of internally, this is kind of that deeper tier of the problem that we're facing is, what's that internal struggle? Why do we want to get in better shape? And it's some of these things where, I got to kind of get that mojo back. I want to, or maybe it's simply that you want to have a little more edge on your competition, and you want that club championship so bad. You want to get that extra edge, and that physically, if you can get in a little better shape, that's going to help you achieve that. And I think that's a great reason. And maybe it's just you want to be the longest hitter in your foursome, in your work scramble, whatever it is. But so aside from just losing weight or getting more flexible, kind of a deeper meaning there is like, hey, I kind of want to be the big hitter, or I'm tired of my buddies out driving me. So I get that that's a big piece. But there's even one more layer that I think is a big one, and we're going to hopefully tackle some of this today. And it's almost a little bit more philosophical. It almost is kind of a broader spectrum of, it's not quite fair that it can be so confusing and so hard to get the right information for me to do what I need to do to get in better shape. Everything that you read on the internet, there's so much content out there. There's so many videos. There's so many exercises. There's so many fad diets. And I'm not going to lie to you, it can be confusing on my end. As a fitness professional, as a medical professional, I read something one day and I read something the next day, and they can be completely contradictory. And both can make very good points, both can argue valid points and seem like they can be very true. So I understand how confusing it can be to read one thing one day and read another thing another day, or just not know what to do. Not everybody's in the fitness world. I know there's a lot of fitness coaches that are listening to this, but hopefully we can boil this down a little bit, because it can be very, very confusing what to eat, what not to eat, when should I eat it, how much should I lift, should I do cardio, should I not do cardio, should I lift heavy, should I do a lot of reps, should I rest in between, should I not rest in between. So there's so many different pieces that I understand your pain, that it shouldn't be this hard for you to just be able to figure out what to do. So the good news is we're going to try to break this down into some bite-sized pieces for you, so you can at least feel like you have a little bit of a grasp on what's going on for your personal fitness. What are the several components that you should be working on that will cover your bases? You don't have to be a fitness expert, or you don't have to spend 10 hours a week working on your fitness. You have a life. You might have kids. You might have a wife or husband. You want to play golf, and you've got other things going on in your life. So fitness doesn't have to overwhelm your whole schedule. So given the fact that I've worked with quite a few golfers, and obviously I've had a chance to talk with some of the best professionals in the world of golf, I've gotten some great insights on, real life stuff, what really happens in the clinic, what really happens with somebody like you who has a life and plays golf, and what kind of aches and pains you have. I personally experience them, but also on a daily basis I'm working with the golfers, but also, working with some of the top coaches in the world, being able to pull some of the great information that they have and ask them questions. I've kind of come up with some things that I think are basic principles that are so important for everybody to know and understand when they're approaching their golf fitness program. So if there's one thing that I would like to do here, it's try to streamline and be more efficient with what you have on your plate and get rid of some of the complexities and the confusion around implementing health and fitness into your golf routine. So I realize that everybody here listening has some sort of a different goal, or you're on your own journey. And we tend to get bogged down. We tend to get too bogged down into the details rather than just taking action. So the biggest component here is going to be that we want you to take action on this stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more general, but I think that's totally fine. I think sometimes we need to be able to just be okay with the fact that doing certain things can work for the majority of people, and that once you kind of get comfortable with those, or once you start to dig into those things and your compliance is up on that, then maybe you need to start digging a little bit more into detail. But let's work on the basics first. So I want to share 3 of the biggest mistakes that I see people doing, and then I'm going to give you a 5-point checklist, I guess we'll call it, that will hopefully create a little bit more clarity in what you can do, again, to cover everything that you need to in your program. So the first of the 3 big mistakes that I see is that people are taking this way too seriously. I mean, the odds are that, and I don't mean to sound uppity about this, or I don't mean to put anybody down, but the odds are that most of us aren't going to be called up for a sponsor's exemption anytime soon into the PGA. And so while you should be doing some specific things to help your golf game, there's certain things that you can do to tie into your fitness routine. What we need to do is first just get real and look at what we really need to be doing for our body. Most of us just need to get in better shape. Most of us need to lose a few pounds. We need to be able to move better. We need to not get tired at the end of a round of golf. And probably the biggest one is you simply need to not hurt yourself when you're playing golf or just in daily activities. So I think we need to stop trying to make everything about golf in our quote. I always do the air quotes, even when I'm talking to a microphone and a computer. Air quoting over golf fitness. So it's, when it comes to golf fitness, everything doesn't have to be golfy. You've heard me say that so many times. I've had people tell me that they want to do all their exercises in golf posture, or they want to really work on their just getting into the backswing. That's all they want to work on. But the bigger point is, if you just do some of the things to get in better shape, like lose a little bit of weight, move better, not get tired at the end of your round, you're going to play so much better golf than if you just worked on these little intricate, what I call the 1% pieces that don't really have that much effect unless you've already done all the other stuff incredibly well. So the point here is stop taking it so seriously. Just work on getting your body better, and your game's going to change drastically. The second thing is the second problem is a lack of consistency. I think that there's so much focus on how intense a workout is and how much effort you put into it, how much you sweat, how good of a workout it was, but there's less focus on just doing it time and time and time again. So I'm not all that worried about somebody coming in and getting a good sweat in and feeling like I really kicked their butt today. It's more about the fact of teaching good solid principles of how to work out properly and then how to do that for long periods of time. So it's not the intensity of your workout that is all that important. It's more the fact, are you working on the right things, and are you going to continue to work on those? Because if you come in and you work your tail off, let's say you come in and do a 4-hour workout, but you only do it once a month, I would much rather take a guy that works on it something 15 minutes 4 times a week and does that continuously for the rest of his life, as opposed to the guy that's going to come in and put in 4 hard hours once a month. So I know that's kind of an exaggerated example, but it just goes to show that, consistency is very often kind of not given the importance that it really needs. And so staying more consistent, doing things on a daily basis is really going to be the tried and true example. Slow and steady wins the race, and that's worked forever, and it will continue to work forever. And then the last thing is, you can't just go through the motions on your fitness. You can't just go and do a routine and just kind of like lazily go through each exercise or pound through your repetitions. You have to actually push yourself on every rep, push yourself on every set, and mix it up on a regular basis. I don't like to see golfers grab a routine and hold on to it and squeeze it so tight and do it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because that's what worked, when they hurt their back. And I see that all the time. You get a set of exercises and they worked, they helped you get to where you needed to go at that time in your life, and then you just continue to do them because those are your exercises. Your body needs change, your body needs challenge, your body needs to adapt. And so if we don't push ourselves, we don't concentrate on the muscles that we're working, and you don't pay attention to the exercise that you're doing, you're not going to get nearly the benefit out of it. And to this day, I still will find people doing certain exercises, and you tell them to concentrate or ask them where they're feeling it, and they have no idea. They don't connect the motion with the body and with the brain, and you're really losing out. It sounds kind of woo-woo and crazy, but if you don't mentally focus on what you're doing and where you're feeling it and the tension that you're creating, you're really losing out on a big piece of what you could be accomplishing. In fact, as just a quick example, you could be doing let's say a shoulder press. I could bring a new guy in the gym, tell him to shoulder press, one-arm shoulder press with a dumbbell straight up overhead with a 30-pound dumbbell. And I would say most guys would be able to come in and do that no problem, without regard to if I'm not, scoring them on their form or really paying attention to how they're getting up there. Most guys would be able to come in, throw a 30-pounder up in the air, bring it back down safely once or twice. But with the person that's really able to concentrate and connect with the tension that they can create in that shoulder, I could have a guy use no weight whatsoever and do that same motion and generate much more tension in his body. I could get him sweating. I could get him breathing heavily simply by teaching him how to focus on what muscles he's using, what his posture is, and how to not compensate, and work on that position, work on that movement, and have him do that just a couple of times and have him and give him a more beneficial and effective workout than having that guy do the 30-pounder. And that all has to go back. All goes back to being able to focus on that position or on that movement. All right, before we jump into the 5 points or the 5-point checklist, I want to just say one more quick thanks to the other sponsor of today's episode, which is Super Speed Golf. If you listened to last week's episode, we had the guys from Super Speed Golf on to talk about their crazy, impactful, incredible overspeed training system, which is taking over the world, as I continue to say. They have over 250 touring pros using their super speed system. In fact, I just saw a picture yesterday on Instagram of the super speed clubs in Phil Mickelson's bag. So if you don't know what they are, it's an overspeed training device. It's a set of 3 clubs, different weighted clubs that you use to swing per protocol to help develop improved speed, improved balance, improved coordination. And these guys are seeing drastic improvements in club head speed and distance from every single player that has ever touched these clubs. So if you want more information on them, go to superspeedgolf.com, and you can check out all the different sets that they have. They've got some for juniors, adults, So go there. They've got some swing speed radars that you can get. We've also got a contest going on that ends at the end of this week at the final putt of the Players Championship, where you can get your hands on a free set of clubs, some 18 Strong gear, and a personalized speed training protocol from the guys at Super Speed. So go back and listen to episode number 138 to get all the details on that. All right, so let's break this down a little bit so you have a better idea of what you should be focusing on in your fitness program for golf, not for golf, but obviously, specified to make your golf game better here. But these things are going to help you in any respect, no matter what your fitness goals are. So I've talked to a lot of people on the show. I've talked to a lot of fitness professionals, golf pros, and just other individuals, best-selling authors that are all kind of in the world of improving people to either think better, move better, feel better, get stronger, play better golf, whatever it is. And I keep coming up with, at least from the fitness angle, I keep coming up with some of the same principles that everybody uses in order to improve their clients or the people that they work with. And so what I wanted to do was just kind of break those down pretty simply. We're not going to go into super detail on all of these, but these are going to be the things that we continue to press on in the future here at 18 Strong, because we know that these are so important, and we want to continue to give you as much info as possible on how you can make your workouts, your training, your programs as efficient as possible. So there's 5 things that I think are imperative, and I'm going to break them down one by one here. The first one is simply movement. And when I talk about movement, I think that moving is completely underutilized in our society these days. And I think if you're kind of into the fitness stuff, you're a fitness professional, you're a medical professional, you're starting to see that this is really becoming a big piece of everything that we're doing, and how we're kind of steering the path of treatment methods and what we look at and how we analyze people. But if you're not in that world, you may not understand the fact that simply moving on a regular basis could be one of the most important things that you could do for your body outside of lifting weights and doing sprints and all this other stuff. Simply moving on a daily basis, getting your joints moving the way that they should, could be the most impactful thing. And I can honestly say I've got some clients that I've been working with for the last 3 to 6 months that the most important thing that I've done for their program is to implement some moving pieces, and they are night and day from the day that they started coming into the gym. And that's not because of me, that's because of the fact that they've been doing their movements, basic, very simple movements, but they've been consistent with them. And so I like to operate under the philosophy of, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And so movement can be as simple as doing some joint circles. So you'll often see, if you see anything that we post, or you might see some fitness professionals, and it looks like they're just doing joint circles. They're rolling their neck around. They're moving their arms. They're moving their hips in kind of weird directions. And all they're doing is taking their joints through full ranges of motion, whatever motion they have there. And this is, I can't stress enough how important this is. It's almost like this is breakthrough, breaking news, but it's one of those things that's so simple that we should have been doing the whole time. But think about this. If you don't ever move your arm into a position where it's kind of behind your back, I mean, if you sit at a desk most of the day, or you drive in a car most of the day, when's the last time you reached back behind you purposefully, not having to reach for something, but just as an exercise or just moving? Odds are you probably haven't done it recently. So let me put you in a scenario. You're driving in your car, and all of a sudden, either you've got a kid in the back seat and you got to reach back and hand them something, or you have your backpack or a bag in the back seat, and you reach back behind you and you want to grab something out of that bag, and all of a sudden you tweak and you tear your rotator cuff. And what happened there is that you put yourself in a position and you created some sort of a load on your shoulder that your body couldn't handle because it had no idea what to do in that situation. So if you were in the habit of moving your shoulders just in a big circle, almost just kind of doing a big windmill on a daily basis with some intention, with some focus, like we talked about before, you would have prepared your shoulder to be able to handle that much better than you had by not doing that. And so you would have prevented injury. It's as simple as that. Taking your joints through these movements on a regular basis, you very well will be able to prevent injury. So I want you to think of, for the sake of golf and our fitness and what we're trying to do, I want you to think of the big five here, which is your neck, your shoulders, your trunk, and we'll say trunk, basically your spine from your shoulders down to your hips, your hip joints, and your ankles. If you move all five of these things on a regular basis, take them through the full range of motion, you're going to be much better off of not injuring yourself and just creating some more motion and improving the motion that you have, which is going to relate to a better golf swing. So it's not always about throwing a bunch of weight on an exercise. It's not always about how much weight you can lift. It's sometimes just about how well you can move. So we talk about mobility a lot. We've got our initiative this month of Mobility May. So if you want to go over to our Instagram page and check out the videos that we're reposting, we've got a bunch of fitness professionals and different people, golfers, teaching pros that are posting some of the exercises and drills that they're doing to increase their own mobility, because this is huge. Can't tell you how big this is. Okay, I promise it won't all be that long. Number 2 is resistance. You have to have some sort of resistance in your program, and typically we will think of this as lifting weights. I'm a big fan of lifting heavy stuff within your realm, within reason. So being able to lift weights is a way to challenge yourself. And I don't know the study, I don't have the study in front of me, but I remember reading that individuals as they age, those that are involved in some sort of a weightlifting program or on a regular basis lift weights, with resistance, are much less likely to end up falling. So I'm 39 years old, or as of this episode, I'm 39 years old. I'm not really that concerned about me falling and breaking a hip, but these are the habits that I want to continue to do as I get older. And the more I work on this, the more you work on this, and even if you are in your 60s or in your 70s, I can't tell you how important it is to start creating some resistance, again, within reason, but getting your bones to feel some of that weight, some of that resistance. Now, here's the caveat, or here's the asterisk. It's not always about lifting weights either. When I talk about resistance, this could be you simply lifting your body weight. It's basically you challenging yourself. So there are many times I'll put someone in a postural exercise, something where they have to hold a position and they don't have to lift any weight, but they have to hold into a position that they're not used to holding into. And so I'm creating resistance by pushing them to their limits. And if they're able to hold that, that means they're going to grow, they're going to adapt, they're going to change. Their muscles, their posture is going to improve just a little bit from that exercise. Doing that repetitiously over and over is going to definitely help improve the way that they are able to tolerate exercise and what they're going to be able to do in their golf game. So it's not always about, how flexible we can be. Typically golfers are worried about their flexibility. I think the resistance piece is a big portion that some are afraid to jump into. So being able to do some sort of resistance work, I like to say, let's say 2 to 4 times a week, doing something resistance related. So that could be your weights, that could be going through this could kind of tie into your movement piece. This could be you really stressing and creating resistance into new movement patterns that you're not used to. So those can work together a little bit. All right, the third principle here, the third fundamental, is going to be intensity. And for the sake of this argument, when I speak about intensity, I'm talking about some sort of high intensity intervals. Interval training has become very popular over the recent years, and for good reason, because it's very quick, it's very effective, and if you don't know what I mean by high intensity interval training, it's basically doing some sort of exercise kind of a sprint related exercise. And again, I use air quotes around sprint because it doesn't necessarily mean running fast down a track. A sprint to me could be getting on a row machine, it could be on a bike, it could be doing jump rope, it could be running, it could be walking up a hill. Depending on your level, to me, a sprint is something that is going to tax you that you're not used to doing. It's you trying to move at a little faster pace than you normally would, and getting your heart rate up and doing this for short bouts. There's many different ways that you can do it, many different rest and work tempos and cycles that you can do. Some of the ones that I'll have people do is do a 30-second sprint, then 30-second rest, and I'll do that on the rower quite often. Or have somebody go for a full minute of sprinting, whatever that mode of sprinting is, and then give them a rest break that's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, even up to 4 minutes in between, and you can do that several cycles. We've talked about that on different shows. We've got a couple other shows, and I'm hoping to get an expert in interval training in the near future on here to go into a little bit more depth there. But it's a great way to test your cardio, and most people listening know that I'm not a huge cardio fan. I would rather you pull my toenails out than me jog on a treadmill for an hour, but I'll go and I'll do sprints on a treadmill for 20 minutes, on and off, sprint for 30 seconds and then rest for a while. I'd much rather do that, and I'd much rather have my clients do that because your time is very valuable, and I think sometimes we get caught up in the cardio mix of going and getting on a treadmill or an elliptical for way too long and getting that good sweat in, but not really pushing yourself. So I like the intense intervals. For one other reason also, I like them because they're not only physically, but they're mentally challenging. And sometimes pushing yourself to your limits physically then creates some mental turmoil. And we all know that we experience this on the golf course. And we've had Dr. Brett McCabe on. He's talked about the importance of every now and then pushing yourself or pushing your clients or pushing your students almost to the point of failure, to the brink of, where they're questioning whether they can handle it, or even putting them in a situation where that they're going to fail, to kind of test them and see how they react. So by you doing these interval sprints, every time I do it, I want to quit. Every single time. But the days that I'm strong mentally and the days that, my clients are strong mentally, that's when they finish and they'll even push forward and do a little bit more than I ask. And that's what I love to see, because that shows me that when on the golf course, you can dig in a little bit deeper when you have to. Okay, number 4 is going to be speed. Without doing something in your training that works on speed, how are you supposed to get any faster? You can't expect to move any faster if you're not training yourself to move any faster. I think it was Al Vermeil, the famous strength coach from back in the day, brother of Dick Vermeil, who coached the St. Louis Rams. But Al worked with the Chicago Bulls, the White Sox, one of the most winningest strength coaches ever. And he said you have to train fast to be fast, or if you train slow, you'll be slow. And while in many situations I'm a fan of slowing down people when they're in the training room, as far as when they're lifting weights and working on tempos and working on their postures. But golf is a game of speed, golf is a game of explosion, so you have to at some point be able to train for some speed. Now this can include plyometrics, this can include box jumps, this can be medicine ball throws, and all of those things are great. All of those things can really be implemented very effectively. But I think for the average person, that sometimes this can get a little confusing. When do I put it in? First of all, do I have the equipment to do it? How am I supposed to do it? And in some instances, I don't want people doing some of these speed-related drills, plyometrics, and things like that if they're not under specific supervision. Because we've all seen the P90X commercials, the Insanity commercials, where people are doing like jump lunges and jump squats and things like that, and when you're doing those and you're tired, your form goes bad, and that, again, is a recipe for disaster. So to keep it very simple, I'll be honest, I lean on these super speed golf clubs a whole lot with a lot of my clients. While we'll do some of the high-intensity intervals in order to get some of the cardio stuff, and that kind of will work on a little bit of speed and things too, but but to directly work on improving speed and power in the golf swing, which we know we all want. We want to hit the ball further. We want to swing faster. I use the overspeed principles and I use these protocols with the super speed clubs because they're very simple. They're very targeted. They give me exactly what I want out of my player. It helps them get a little bit more balance, swing left, swing right, works on how fast they swing, kind of takes away the idea of the technical side of it. So it's kind of my go-to of implementing some sort of speed protocol into my programs. Makes it very easy for me, makes it very easy for my clients, and it makes it very easy for you because you don't have to worry about, where you're going to throw your medicine balls or how to time that into your program. Quick note though, if you are doing any kind of speed and power related activities, you want to do them towards the beginning of your workout, or you want to do them separate from your strength training workouts or separate from your intervals, because you need to have as much energy and power as possible in your body where you can generate as much force, generate as much speed as possible. So when you are swinging these super speed clubs, if you have them, I want you to swing them fast, and I want you to swing them as fast as you possibly can because you have to be pushing your limits in order to increase your limits. So once again, you're kind of creating that resistance again, pushing your boundaries and pushing your borders. Okay, and the fifth one that I think is possibly the most important of all five of these, and is generally the one that's kind of thrown in the trash can when we start talking about fitness, and that's nutrition. Nutrition is the number one way to lose fat and to get leaner, without question, without a doubt. You can put it up against any exercise program. Nutrition will win every single time, and that's not what people necessarily want to hear. They want to hear that they can work hard and that they can then eat whatever they want. I think the majority of us don't put enough stock in what's going into our body and how that's going to affect our results. So let's face it, most of us are looking to lose a few pounds. Even us fitness professionals, we always want to trim down a little bit. Sometimes we want to get a little bit bigger, but we always want to get a little bit leaner. And the number one way to do that is to take hold of your nutrition. You've probably heard the old adage, you can't out-train a bad diet, and that is 100% true. We also tend to lean on supplements and protein bars and shakes and things like that under the guise that these are healthy things for us and we should be eating those. But what I want you to really pay attention to nutrition-wise is whole foods. Whole foods are the most important thing that you can do. Don't rely on eating your protein bar for breakfast, having a shake every afternoon or whatever. First, let's hone in on just eating whole foods, good proteins, tons and tons of vegetables. I challenge you to try to eat too many vegetables. I don't think there's a possibility of doing that. And one more thing that gets me every time is how people always say, I eat my fruits and vegetables. I eat my fruits and vegetables. But when I really ask them and break that down, what they're saying is I eat fruit. I don't eat vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are not the same thing, and fruits are delicious and tasty and sugary, and that's why they're delicious. So I want you to focus way, 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 way more on the vegetable portion than the fruit portion. In fact, if you're really trying to lean out and lose weight, you might want to cut back on some of the fruits because we tend to eat those thinking that it's super healthy for us. I'm the same way. Apples, grapes, bananas, they're all very enticing foods. And it might sound funny to you if you don't eat any fruits or vegetables, but you can definitely overdo the fruits. So don't be one of those people that thinks eating fruits and vegetables are the same thing. You'll get ridiculed out of our facility because we have so many people that come in with that same mentality. And I would have to say that one of the most effective strategies of taking control of your food is simply learning how to plan ahead. Plan your week out ahead of time, what you're going to eat. If you're somebody that can take food to work, take your food to work. Make sure that it's good, wholesome veggies, protein, some good fats, some decent carbs. And again, there are no bad foods as far as your macronutrients, your carbs. Carbs get a bad rap. I tend to work better on a lower carb diet, but it's not that I don't ever eat carbs. Know that everything is good in the right time or the right place. So that's something that you just kind of have to end up figuring out what works for you. But planning ahead and knowing what you're going to eat on a daily basis really will save you in those times where you don't know what you're going to eat, you don't have anything good on hand, and so you just reach for whatever's in a bag or a box in the pantry. So you can try to tip the scales with some kind of crazy cleanse or fad diet or whatever, but once again, going back to the old tried and true steady state, just be consistent, be consistently good. You don't have to be perfect. And when you fall off your horse, just get back on. But just try to be consistent with what your food intake is, and don't go crazy, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So that's it. That's the big 5. And the way I look at it, these are all crucial components to accomplishing any goal that's related to your golf and fitness. So depending on what your main goal is, you're going to ramp some of these up and some of these down. So if you're looking to, lose more fat and really lean out, you're going to put more stock in the nutrition component and really hammer down on that. You'll probably do a little bit more on the interval side and change your weights in the resistance program a little bit. If you're looking for better mobility, obviously you're going to put more effort into the movement portion and doing some of your daily range of motion things and really emphasizing that. So everything ebbs and flows. It changes. You're always going to have different goals. You're always going to have different wants and needs. So in fact, what I would recommend right now is ask yourself, what's your primary focus right now? What will provide the biggest domino effect on your game as we speak right now? And is there anything that you need to do first before you can get to that big thing? So for instance, if you know that you need to increase your squat by 100 pounds because you feel like that's going to be the biggest impact on your fitness. I'm just kind of pulling things out of the air here. But if your ankle doesn't move right, or if you can't even get into a full squat, then that means, maybe I need to work on that mobility stuff first before I can work on increasing the weight of me squatting, whatever the scenario is. Sometimes you have to look at what the end goal is, and there's a couple pieces that you have to follow and take care of beforehand. So think to yourself right now, what's the biggest goal for me? What's the biggest thing that will make the biggest difference in how I feel, how I look, and what's going on in my golf game right now, and then maybe attack that, based on these 5 principles. So in my personal opinion, the movement piece and the nutrition piece should always occupy a pretty decent chunk of the pie. So if you're looking at these 5 things on a pie chart, those 2 components, in my eyes, are always going to be some of the bigger ones, just because I think so much stems back to what we put in our body and how well we're moving. So if you're asking me, the way that I would label these out importance-wise, it would be nutrition and the movement are probably neck and neck. Then just below that would be the resistance part. So that would be kind of like the lifting weights and the strength training and challenging yourself. After that would be the intensity or the high-intensity intervals. And then below that, I would put more the speed, the power stuff. Those are that's kind of the tier or hierarchy that I would put there. So I want you to start implementing these 5 things on a weekly basis and look at your plan long term. What will you look like, feel like, and how will you be playing in 1 year from now? Are you still going to be the guy who has back pain? Or are you going to be the guy that's standing in the fairway looking back at all your buddies that you outdrove and waiting for them to hit up to the green with their hybrids while you've got your 9-iron in your hand? So I know there's going to be some questions regarding all of this stuff. If you have any questions, come over to Facebook and join our private group, the 18 Strong Movement over there, and let us know what questions you have. There's a ton of fitness professionals in there, medical professionals, golf pros, everybody, and it's an open environment to, kind of speak your mind and let us know what you're struggling with. And hopefully we can all help out. We can get some good feedback. We can get some good dialogue going on. If you want any more information on this episode, just go to 18strong.com, look up episode number 139. I'll have some notes printed out there there regarding everything that we talked about in the show. And don't forget to go over and check out scratchtv.com to just see some great content regarding golf and the fun side of golf, different PGA events, celebrities, athletes, all kinds of stuff over there. And if you haven't got your hands on a set of Super Speed Golf clubs, go to superspeedgolf.com. Be sure to use the code 18STRONG to get your discount, and you will be swinging faster than you've ever swung in recent years. All right. Thanks for joining me here on 18 Strong. We'll catch up with you next week. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.